I just wanted your general thoughts, man, on coming back to camp and getting ready to start this weird new season.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a long time coming. I think there's a really good energy. I'm sure a lot of players and teams will echo that throughout the league. Guys are just excited to be going back to work.
Next question comes from Dan Rosen with NHL.com. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for doing this. Good to see you. Happy New Year. You've been training with Lafrenière a little bit. You saw him on the ice today. I'm curious, what are your impressions since you've been training with him? Did anything stand out to you today in just a short scrimmage?
Yeah, I mean, he's an awesome guy. I mean, an awesome kid. You forget how young he is because he carries himself with a ton of maturity. And I've played with him a bunch, and the skill is very, very evident. He's got the thing on a string. Sees the ice incredibly well, heads up. The one thing that really struck me over the past few weeks, though, is he's not only a mature kid and carries himself with that level of maturity, but he's a lot thicker than a normal 18 or 19-year-old kid. Very strong on his skates, and he competes. He's a dog on the puck. Guys try to bump him, he's trying to spin off and get to that ice. So he's hyper competitive, and he wants to win, and you can tell he loves playing the game. His first day at the rink, he asked our head medical trainer if he could go out and watch a little bit, because obviously there were some protocols and some hoops that we had to jump through, and he was like a kid. He was just so excited to be there, and he was watching everyone practice, and you can tell that he's got a serious passion for the game and enthusiasm and just a really good energy and just wants to succeed and win.
Next question is from Vince Mercogliano with USA Today Network. Vince, go ahead.
Hey, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Just wanted to get your thoughts on, the strides that you guys made last season and what sort of the message is to the team about what you guys need to do to take that next step and keep that forward momentum going.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of the season, I think you could see the progress, especially on the defensive side of the puck. I mean, the offense was definitely there. I mean, something that we've talked about in camp with coaches is we were top in the league for a pretty long stretch there towards the end of the season before everything got stopped in multiple categories. I mean, we know we've got the skill. We know that we bring a pretty dynamic offensive game. So the thing that has been echoed, I guess, throughout the first few days here is that we don't sacrifice offense to play defense. If anything, we can generate offense off our defense. We need to do things extremely well that everyone can do, the things that are in our control. So, I mean, today specifically, we were really harping on defense, and I think that we found last year when we had success is when we played as a 5-man unit in our own zone, and everyone knew what their job was, and everyone executed quickly and with that tenacity.
Next question is from Mark Roseman with Sports Talk New York. Go ahead, Mark.
How you doing? Quick question. So, you didn't come to your first training camp until you had already been in the playoffs and had success. So the expectations were fairly high for you. Who was the guy who, in that first camp, tried to tell you to, not worry about expectations? And what's some of the advice that you're going to give Alexi?
I don't think anyone's going to tell a young guy not to worry about expectations, because any young guy coming in is going to, worth his salt, is going to have higher expectations than what anyone else sets for them. He should have the highest possible expectations, and I know he does. You set your goals at an extremely high point, and even if you fall short, you're still progressing, you're still improving. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's understanding that he's an 18, 19-year-old kid. I mean, we were the youngest team in the league last year, I believe, and probably going to be the youngest team again this year. We got a lot of young guys, and it's a lot of fun because those guys get so much better every single day. And so I think if there's one thing that I could tell him in terms of expectations is just fall in love with the process, which I don't know that he needs anyone to tell him that, because he goes out there and he works hard, and he's always in the moment. He's always trying to make the right play and work as hard as he possibly can in the moment. Now, mind you, once we get into the dog days of the season, dealing with adversity and dealing with bumps in the road, that's part of being a professional, part of being an NHL player. But everything that I've seen and everything that I've heard is that's the kind of stuff that he thrives off of. So.
Next question is from Colin Stevenson. Go ahead, Colin.
Hi, Chris. I wanted to just ask you how weird it must be to be there and not have Hank there and not have Stalzy there and Jesper as well.
Yeah, obviously it's incredibly strange. We really miss those guys. Those are some of the best human beings that I've ever met, and that's what I've found has been so great about playing with this organization and being able to live out my dream of playing in the NHL is the people that you meet. I could wax poetic for a long time about each one of those guys and what they bring as a player and as a person, and wish them nothing but success going forward, whether it's with another team or whatever their decision may be. It's very strange, but it's a sad part of it, right? Even when we were, kind of in the thick of playoff races and going to conference finals and Stanley Cup finals, so we play a sport where there's a hard cap, and so there's guys that you end up moving on from every single year. It feels like even when you have that that team that goes on a deep run, you always end up losing a few more guys than you expect to, and it's just kind of the nature of it. And you stay in touch with those guys as often as you can, and you wish them nothing but the best. But yeah, it's definitely different not having them around the building.
Okay, we'll take three more here. First, Vince Mercogliano. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, Chris, you seem to be really good at keeping your head down and focusing on the task at hand. At least that's the impression that I know a lot of us got last year. But is there some level of comfort to having all the questions about, contract and all that stuff behind you and just kind of coming in this season and knowing what your future is?
Each season presents a new challenge and a new opportunity, and I think last year around the 20 game mark, I was able to acknowledge that it was an opportunity to show up and throw myself into the process and try to improve every day and help our team win, because that's, at the end of the day, I know, huge cliche, but that was all I could really control. And I've seen guys go through contract negotiations and RFA, UFA coming up at the end of the season or trade deadlines, and I've seen how guys handle it, and I just wanted to try to embody some of those positive traits that I saw out of a lot of different players, where they just put their head down and work. So I had a really good example laid out before me by a multitude of guys, whether or not they got extended or stayed. I had, like I said, just had a really good example laid out before me. So, yeah.
Next question is from Dan Rosen. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, Chris, I'm curious, you're going to be seeing the same teams over and over and over again this season. What do you think that's going to be like, and how do you think that's going to fuel whatever rivalries already exist?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's something we've definitely talked about. I expect almost a playoff style approach. At some point, you can just throw out the X's and the O's because each team knows what the other team's doing. You get to a certain point where you don't even have to really pre-scout. You don't really have to have meetings. Maybe there's one or two adjustments, but at the end of the day, it's you versus them, and it's a grind. And having a young team that doesn't have a ton of playoff experience, I think it's going to be really good for our club.